Welcome back, viewers. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines.
लेकिन निश्चित रूप से इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड से आने वाले $1 बिलियन के बड़े हिस्से को टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को फंड करने में इस्तेमाल होगा, ऐसा मेरा मानना।
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has interacted with the air warriors at the Bhuj Air Force Station in Gujarat, lauding their valor in making Operation Sindoor a big success. Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Masood Azhar faces big embarrassment as its own country's newspaper fact-checks and debunks his false claims about the Pakistan Air Force in the Senate. India's Aviation Security Regulator Bureau of Civil Aviation Security has revoked security clearance to Turkish ground service provider Celebi and its associated companies over national security concerns. Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi has condemned the Pahalgam terror attack while speaking to External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. India takes the matter into their own hands. A boycott Turkey trends all over social media, with over 80,000 posts on X urging the nation to stand in solidarity and cancel the trips to Turkey. In the backdrop of tensions with Turkey, the Protocol Division of the Ministry of External Affairs postponed the credential ceremony of the new Turkish ambassador to India, citing scheduled issues. The Jammu and Kashmir government has instructed to accelerate the construction of 2 hydroelectric power projects on the Chenab River front. Now, viewers, in a bid to clearly articulate India's stance on terrorism originating from Pakistan to the international community, the Prime Minister Modi-led government, BJP government, is launching a significant global outreach initiative. The initiative will see the deployment of multiple delegations, each comprised of 5 to 6 members of the parliament, accompanied by a representative from the Ministry of External Affairs and another government official. MPs have been advised to ensure their passports and travel documents are readily available. With the MEA coordinating all the travel logistics, the delegation is expected to depart India around at May 22nd and return in the early weeks of June, between the 3rd and 4th of the month. Now, the group will engage with the lawmakers, officials and think tanks to convey India's position on cross-border linkages to the Pahalgam terror attack of 22nd April that killed 26 civilians. India's military strikes targeting the terrorist infrastructure in the territories controlled by Pakistan and the subsequent escalation of tensions. Mehndi Garg is joining me with more details. Mehndi, now this is the latest that we are learning. Multiple delegations are now scheduled to depart to make India's stance on the anti-terrorism very correct. And at this point of time, delegations are also launching, in fact, this outreach of global initiative on the anti-terror front. Share more details.
Well, indeed, Simran, in a strategic move to underscore India's firm stance on terrorism emanating from Pakistan, now the Prime Minister Modi-led BJP government is initiating a major global outreach campaign, and the objective of this initiative is to, clearly communicate India's position on the persistent threat of cross-border terrorism to the international community. And also, Simran, the initiative will involve the deployment of several high-level delegations, each consisting of 5 to 6 members of parliament. And alongside the MPs, Simran, the delegations will also include a representative from the MEA and other government officials. And these delegations will, embark on diplomatic missions across various countries, aiming to, engage with foreign lawmakers, government officials, and also think tanks to, present India's perspective on critical security issues. And not only the Simran, but also the MPs have been instructed to ensure their passports and travel documents prepared with the MEA overseeing all logistics related to the delegation's travel. And it is expected also, Simran, that the delegations are scheduled to leave India around 22nd May and are expected to return between June 3rd and 4th. And talking about this particular development, then yes, the central focus of the outreach will be to highlight the involvement of Pakistan-based entities in supporting cross-border terrorism, especially in the wake of the April 22nd terror attack in Pahalgam, which claimed the lives of 26 civilians. So yes, it is a very important move by the BJP-led government. Yes, Simran.
All right, Mehdi, thank you very much for sharing further details. And now, viewers, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has strongly opposed any financial assistance to Pakistan from the International Monetary Fund, warning that such aid could help up in ending the funding terrorist organizations operating from its soil. While interacting with the military personnel at the Bhuj Air Force Station in Gujarat, he has questioned the International Monetary Fund for disbursing a second tranche of 1.23 billion under the Extended Fund Facility program for terror-packed Pakistan. He has emphasized that Pakistan would use this money for terror funding. He has pointed out to the reports that Pakistan is set to pay designated terrorist Masood Azhar 14 crores as compensation for the destruction of the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has stated that he believes that Pakistan will spend a large portion of the funds received from the International Monetary Fund on terror infrastructure in their country. Remember, viewers, Pakistan is heavily dependent on the IMF bailout package, which helped to shore up its dwindling forex reserves. The country got backing from the fund at a critical time last year when it was on the verge of bankruptcy, and was saved by the lender by providing $3 billion on a short-term basis. According to the details on the IMF website, Pakistan has received at least 25 bailout loans since becoming a member of the fund. Wing Commander Praful Bakshi is joining me live on the broadcast. Mr. Bakshi, in fact, the big message by Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh from Gujarat at the base with forces is like there is picture is not complete. India stands tough and ready to call out the institutions. But when we talk about, in fact, the IMF stand right now, it has also been mentioned in the statements by Raksha Mantri to Pakistan funding terror and also the kind of motives and purpose that Pakistan would have with this bailout in the latest. How do you view, in fact, all the other nations also raising their voice in providing financial aid to Pakistan by the IMF, as Raksha Mantri has also vowed earlier that he is going to approach the UN to look into this matters?
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
It's a very
Bakshi.
serious matter that Raksha Mantri is in now Bhuj, and he is addressing the MN soldiers. But more than that, every aid which Pakistan is getting, obviously, into funding the terrorists, funding their weapon systems, and raising more and more terrorist camps. Now that is already known, but the surprising thing is, how does the monetary fund get sanctioned? What is the role of America? What are the role of other countries? Obviously, China must be also having its say. So is Turkey. So is Bangladesh. And so are the number of OIC countries who do lip service to humanitarian activities, but they supply aid to Pakistan. We don't have to fool ourselves. Pakistan is being aided by all the countries who support the radical Islam. That's what the radical Islam I'm meaning. And that is where our danger lies. For us, we have to relentlessly carry out our task of operating. We have to be ready for a protracted, which will extend. Don't let us not think that it is going to be over. And we have to make sure within our country, everybody is cooperating. This religious, anti-religious feeling, etc. That Hindu-Muslim divide, which is the main weapon system of Pakistan, has to be totally annihilated. Then only we can take further steps. Military action will follow thereafter.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Bakshi. While I request you to kindly stay on with us in the telecast, and thank you very much for adding your comments now. Dr. Sharad Kohli is also there with me live on the broadcast. Mr. Kohli, India's big message to the IMF is clearer than ever. And now IMF should reconsider funding Pakistan, which is going to further propagate the financial aid into its motive for spreading terrorism, is what Raksha Mantri has also reiterated. While we understand, in fact, how the IMF giving loan to Pakistan has also been contentious for other nations, but as far as India is concerned, the big message is all clear. How do you think at this point of time other nations are also, as far as trade is also looped in, should consider reacting on this very bailout, as in the past 25 bailouts have already been issued to Pakistan by the IMF?
Well, good afternoon, Simran. 25 times, Pakistan has been on the verge of bankruptcy, Diwaliya as they call it in Hindi. And 25 times it has been bailed out. So I think IMF should know, any lender would know that where the money is going. You can make out. And this is, there is a very interesting thing, Simran, which has come out. I call it as recycling of the fund for terrorism. IMF gives to Pakistan. Pakistan gives 14 crores to Masood Azhar for his family, 14 family members, 1 crore each. And then that 14 crore again comes back into the cycle and gets used for terror, harboring the terrorism, training the terrorists, keeping these terrorist factories alive. So this is a classic case of recycling of funds, which has been going on. 1/6 of IMF voting is with America, 16% Simran. So I call this as proxy funding by America for Pakistan. This is because, UK has about 6%. America has 16%. Between of course, China and other countries are there. Between these two countries, they are indirectly, they don't know or they know that they are funding terrorism. I think it's to stop, whereas the purpose for which, on record, this fund is given is for electricity, is for water, is for basic food supplies, is for necessities of Pakistani awam. But none of this happens. The entire money gets siphoned out in either corruption or harboring terrorism, and Hukumrans of Pakistan are using the same money. Now, I'm going to say something very interesting. The same money gets channelized to corruption, and from that corruption money, somebody goes and buys a house in New York, he buys a villa in London. This is, so I call this as recycling of the money. It is going back to them, and this funding, Pakistan buys arms, and those arms are bought from America, bought from other countries. So I can see a clear motive and double standards of some of the developed nations. I'm sorry to say that, Simran, that these are categorical double standards, that on one side you criticize terrorism, on one side you say we want to engage into a ceasefire, we initiated the dialogue of ceasefire, which is not true. And on the other side, you are funding terrorism by proxy means. What kind of double standards are these? It's very shameful that an organization like IMF is getting into this, not once, not twice, but now 25 times. Otherwise, Pakistan, if this bailout had not happened, Simran, Pakistan would have been finished from the global map by now, Simran.
All right, Dr. Sharad Kohli, thank you very much for being with us on the broadcast. And as we understand, in fact, as this is the biggest development this morning, the message by the Indian Army and Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh is clear. And to IMF, in fact, the big statement has been issued, and with all these comments that have been made by Raksha Mantri, he has also reiterated that picture abhi baki hai. To all my guests, thank you very much for being with us on the broadcast. Now, let's shift our focus to other developments. The Indian Army, in 2 separate operations, has successfully neutralized 6 terrorists within 48 hours in vastly different terrain in Jammu and Kashmir. Among those neutralized, Shahid Kuti was a part of 2 major attacks, comprising one on a German tourist. Kuti has also had involvement in the funding terrorist activities, as per the statement that has been issued by the Indian Army. Security forces have launched a cordon and search operation in the Nadar Tral area of Avantipura, located in South Kashmir, following the specific intelligence about the presence of terrorists. A police official has said this. The operation escalated into a gunfight when the terrorists opened fire on the security personnel, prompting them to retaliate, as the official also added. Now, this is the latest that we are learning, and this is a big win for the forces in the area where the trial encounter took place. All right, viewers, this has just come this morning as the crackdown against terror continues. There have been statements which have been issued by the Jammu and Kashmir police forces as well. As you can see on your screens, after the Operation Sindoor success, 3 terrorists have been neutralized, and in fact these terrorists were neutralized is what the operation has stated. On 12th of May, as per the information, they have said that they have got the information on the possible damage, and this is the latest. Mohammad Ali Shah, Major Mohammad Ali Shah is joining me live on the broadcast with more updates. In fact, Mr. Shah, this is the big win for the security forces. The second operation in Tral has also witnessed major crackdown on terror. Terrorists positioned themselves in different houses, and then the firing happened. As per the official statements that we are tracking from the Jammu and Kashmir anti-terror operations in Tral and Kelar, army press briefing happened. How do you react to India's continuing efforts right now, even after there has been an understanding on the ceasefire that was witnessed, but at the same time in Srinagar on the anti-terror operations, this has come as a major success for the Indian Army and the Jammu and Kashmir police?
Right. You know, I must commend and appreciate the efforts of our armed forces, the tireless, endless efforts to nap down every single terrorist who is there present on our soil at the moment. We saw them flushing out 3 terrorists from Sofian. It was just a start. Thereafter, there was a terrorist. We found him hiding. The drone clearly showed him hiding. The drone camera clearly showed him hiding. And we have an eye on these guys. In fact, people who would be hearing us across the border, or people who are hiding and hearing us, for them to get a loud and clear message from a former army officer that you people are being watched upon very, very closely. Don't you dare look at India with those dirty eyes of yours. So most certainly, I think, see, like for example, the ANI tweet, which said on 12th May, they got information of possible presence of terrorist groups in higher reaches in Kelar. Now, on the morning of 13th May, on detection of some movement, their parties challenged the terrorists who retaliated with fire. The parties neutralized them. The second operation in Tral area was conducted in a border village. As they were laying a cordon in the village, the terrorists positioned themselves in different houses and fired upon the security forces. At this time, the challenge they faced was rescuing the civilian villagers first. After this, 3 terrorists were neutralized. One of the 6 terrorists neutralized, namely Shahid Kutte, was involved in 2 major terrorist attacks, including an attack on a German tourist. He also had a hand in funding activities. So most certainly, I think the army has been doing a commendable job. The intelligence has been doing a commendable job. And ultimately, it's a very loud and clear message that we will not tolerate terrorist activities on our soil. And any act of terror henceforth would be treated as an act of war. We are very, very clear on that. Because why should we wait for under Pelgam or Pulwama or 2611 or 13 December to happen, or under Pathankot to happen? Prevention is always better than cure, and they are in to bite if they look at India with those dirty eyes this time.
All right, Mr. Shah, thank you very much for sharing your take and how exactly this has been a major success for the Indian forces and the army. Now, in the backdrop of the tension with Turkey, the protocol division of the Ministry of External Affairs has postponed the credentials ceremony of the new Turkish ambassador to India. The MEA, in a brief announcement, has said that the credentials ceremony at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which was to be held, has been deferred due to scheduling issues. My colleague Aditya Vadhavan is joining me live on the broadcast with more updates. Aditya, this is a big development that we are learning. Credential ceremony of the Turkish ambassador stands cancelled. What are the clear reasons that have been cited in the statements from the Ministry of External Affairs for this?
Well, absolutely, Simran. If you see the postponement of the event came as a surprise, said a diplomatic source, who was just informed just minutes before the event was to take place. Apart from, Turkey's ambassador Ali Musrat Ersoy, Bangladesh new High Commissioner Riaz Hamidullah, and the envoys of Thailand, Costa Rica, St. Kitts and Nevis were to present their credentials to President Draupadi Murmu in the ceremony that was postponed. So, it is very quite obvious, because, Turkey has outrightly given support to Pakistan and the Pakistani terrorists recently, when Operation Sindoor was going on. So the Ministry of External Affairs has rightly, postponed the credentials for the new Turkish ambassador to India, and it could be seen that a long technical hold could be stayed on his appointment, because as so far we have seen that how this boycott Turkey campaign is going on in India, and many Indians are cancelling their trips to Turkey at this hour, because Turkey has even supplied missiles to Pakistan during the Operation Sindoor was conducted. So it now needs to be seen how this entire scenario unfolds. Yes, Simran.
Well, all right, Aditya, I'll request you to kindly stay on with us on the broadcast, as now what we are learning in the latest is that the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in Islamabad has met Pakistani Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. In fact, this is the latest development that has taken place. The UK Foreign Secretary has met Pakistan Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, and of course, this is the time to monitor such high-level meetings with the focus of Pakistan and requesting other nations in the times when India countered Pakistan with foiling its attempt to spread terrorism and the continuing attack by Pakistan on the Indian soil. Aditya, what are you picking up in this latest meeting that has taken place between UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in Islamabad with the Pakistan Deputy Minister, Prime Minister Ishaq Dar?
Definitely, yes, Simran. If you see, the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy is on a 2-day visit to Islamabad, and he has met Pakistan Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. And let us just put this into perspective. That 3 days back, the Twitter handle of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan had tweeted that the Foreign Office of the Pakistan government received a call from the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and both the leaders at that time on the phone call discussed latest developments in the region. It is now it is a clear fact that that Pakistan at this juncture is really fearful, and it is looking for international attention, because during the Operation Sindoor was conducted, and successfully as Operation Sindoor was conducted, Pakistan was begging to other countries, to interfere, and in such a huddle, several countries also looked forward towards Pakistan, the countries like Azerbaijan and Turkey, and now, the the UK Foreign Secretary has also gone to Islamabad, and now, it needs to be seen. However, if we see, the Pakistan has been globally isolated, post this cowardly terror attack that has happened in Pahalgam. Now it needs to be seen how the entire scenario unfolds. Yes, Simran.
All right, Aditya, thank you very much for sharing more updates as that you are tracking. Now, Iran and 3 European powers, Britain, France and Germany, they are going to hold the nuclear talks in Turkey today. The high-stakes meeting comes after US President Donald Trump has said a deal with Tehran is inching closer to being realized. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has warned of the irreversible consequences if the UN sanctions are reimposed. He has stated that Tehran is ready to negotiate, but only if sanctions are lifted. Meanwhile, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Chief Major General Hossein Islami sent a direct message to Donald Trump. He has emphasized that Iran will not respond on the America's terms. All right, crucial nuclear talks underway. Brian Thomas is joining me with more details. Brian, this is in fact a big development that we are learning. Trump says a deal soon between US and Iran. What does this mean for the future of the nuclear power that all the 3 nations right now in Turkey are mulling upon? Share more details.
Well, clearly, Simran, Iran is clearly having this very critical nuclear talks with Britain, France, and Germany in Istanbul as momentum building towards reviving the 2015 nuclear agreement. Clearly itself, the talks come amid U.S. Donald Trump's assertion that a fresh deal with Tehran is getting close and could avert the threat of military escalation. Even deputy foreign ministers will be, part of this discussion, marking a very prominent diplomatic push also following this tense round of Iran-US negotiations in Oman that happened last week. While Tehran described the latest exchanges as difficult but useful, Washington said it was encouraged by the progress. Even, very importantly, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also cautioned that any move by European powers to trigger the deal snapback mechanism, reimposing UN sanctions, could have irreversible consequences, potentially sparking a broader nuclear crisis. However, in a very conciliatory gesture itself, Araghchi even wrote that Iran was ready to turn the page and rebuild the relations with Europe. Now, this 2015 nuclear deal, which is also known as the JCPOA, had placed strict UN monitored limits on Iran's nuclear activities in exchange of sanctions relief. But the agreement unraveled after Trump unilaterally also withdrew in 2018 and reimposed sweeping.
All right, Brian, thank you very much for sharing more details and in fact adding information. Now, viewers, on that note, that was all the news of the nation and the world. We'll continue to track all the developments very closely. Till then, stay with us.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं